of all, I think your analysis was very straight line. History doesn't run in a straight line.
Kid, you cannot tell your neighbor he is stealing ducks when you are stealing funds.
As High Commissioner, I was wrong. As Charandas Prasad, I reacted naturally how any person would have.
I did not come here for that kind of abuse. I did not come here for that kind of abuse. If you're going to go down that road, I'll walk off.
But it's all okay once they're talking. If they were talking, I could not have been here today.
You got ADHD.
I got nothing.
Calm down.
I think I've done enough in terms of taking our team out of trouble from losing.
Tomorrow, Taylor. That's good. I'm reading the script now, and the first person that comes to my mind to play a detective,
Yes,
but
okay,
an
it's good to-
erratic
Mikhail
detective
Rodriguez.
is Mikhail Rodriguez.
Why an African slap an Indian? Why a man and slap a woman? No, girl, how you deal with that? You deal with that.
We must encourage platforms like this because it brings together different people and allows for discussions to take place in our country on a multiplicity of fundamental issues.
Kingdom, you apologizing for something you think I did is wrong. I don't want you to do that, and you should not have done that. Hi, good evening from Georgetown, Guyana, or good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are from Guyana or elsewhere looking at this program. If you saw the advertisement for this program this morning, this is a new format we'll have introduced to the program. We still have our call-ins, we still have guests, but the two co-hosts are very trained people in the social sciences. Both Leonard Craig and I are very well trained academics. And the interview programs do not give us scope to put out our analyses, our evaluations and assessments and adumbrations about things that are happening in and out of Guyana. So we can go on for months and years without putting our analysis to viewers who may want to hear what we have to say. So what we have done, we've introduced another format to the program. The co-host Leonard and I would sit down and do analysis and commentary and polemize on issues that are important so viewers could see and hear what we are saying about our country and about what's happening in the world. So Leonard and I will be doing this quite often. Just to remind you, Leonard Craig has a first degree from Eugene Economics, a second degree from the Berlin School of Economics, and did his PhD in Harbin Institute of Technology in China. And of course, you know, I've been around for some time. So this gives us an opportunity to put our interpretation on things. For example, there was a bombshell last Saturday in a new and united Guyana, Anug. It's a bombshell that may have destroyed Anug. So these are things we want to put out there. Now, I want to start the discussion with my column today in today's Chronicle on Nigel Hughes. I will give my take on the column. I will comment on the column, and then Leonard could respond, or he can go on his own topic and I will respond. So that tete-a-tete between Leonard and I is our new format. Now, here is my column in today's Chronicle. It's two questions I have posed to Nigel Hughes because he's the leader of the AFC. Now, in this column, I haven't asked Nigel anything that he's not familiar with a couple of months he assumed the leadership of the AFC. He wasn't in the leadership of the AFC from 2017 when he resigned as chairman. He wasn't in government from 2015 to 2020. So there may be some things that he just cannot answer, or he could say, I did not know about that. I do not have the nooks and crannies of what is going on, of what went on in those times. But in the two questions that I posed for him, he was around. And I think in fairness to history and to the people of Guyana, I think Nigel should answer these two questions because they have been nagging and nagging and nagging the past 9 years, 5 years for the AFC in power, and now 4 years since they've lost power. Let's look at the two questions that I have posed to Nigel Hughes. One of them, Leonard and I have discussed up 10 times, and Leonard Craig, Michael Carrington, Marlon Williams, Trevor Williams, Ginger Besessal, all of them have discussed, a set of second-tier leaders have discussed this aberration, this anomaly, this thing that doesn't happen in politics that the AFC did in their boardroom on May 2015. They met, and Nigel was there. They were selecting their ministers. And the leadership of the AFC called a woman who had no activist relationship with the AFC, did not campaign for the AFC, did not write anything for the AFC. She was just simply a friend of the elites of the AFC. I don't know if Leonard Craig was there. He can say if he was there. I know Trevor Williams was there. Ginger Besessal were in the room. They called a woman. Now, I cannot call the woman's name because I am vulnerable. She may sue me. But she wouldn't sue Nigel. She wouldn't sue David Patterson. She wouldn't sue Cathy Hughes. She wouldn't sue Raphael Trotman because they made the call to her. So I wouldn't call her name. And in these two questions to Nigel, I'm asking Nigel to call her name. So they called this woman and asked this woman if she would like. They said to her, you know, we've won power, the AFC is now being government, we're selecting our ministers. Would you like to be the Minister of the Environment? And there was Craig with his master's from Germany. There was Besessal with his sociology degree and law degree. There was Trevor Williams, who was a marketing manager for Digicel with his international relations degree. Those guys work hard in the trenches. And Nigel was in the room. He was part of the agreement to call this lady and offer her a ministerial position. My first question to Nigel is, why did he participate in this? Did he sit down as chairman in the AFC room and agree to their giving a stranger a ministerial job? And Craig and Marlon Williams and all of them are right there, educated people. I hope Nigel answered the question. The second question to Nigel is, he drafted the amendment to the marijuana law. It was put on the order paper of Parliament in 2015 to be read under the name of Michael Carrington. It never saw the light of day. These are the two territories that Nigel walked on. And I think he needs to give an explanation or his own interpretation of what happened. He needs to say to us, look, this was my position in the room, and you need to say, this was my position when the marijuana bill didn't come through. So I'll hand over to my co-host, Leonard Craig.
Okay, thank you, Freddie. Just a quick comment on the issue you raised. The way AFC behaves, because you in your larger column, you refer to your criticism of the AFC from the day they took office. And that particular issue, calling that person to offer them a ministerial position, was symptomatic of AFC's general behavior while in office the entire time. Now, there is something that happened in the AFC that I've never seen in politics anywhere in the world.
I'm waiting to hear what's that.
When you are in a campaign, during the campaign, you finalize from among your campaigners who are the people going into government and what role they will play. Because we are not like America that have a transition period that allows the president to name his team during that 2-month period. So, and I often made a reference to my AFC comrades at the time that even the Pope practiced better politics than a political party named the AFC. It was poor politics for, so the meeting you refer to in your article, soon after that meeting, AFC leaders literally name themselves and that woman. And then they went into office. Obviously, the woman refused, but then these leaders went into office and they did not think that anybody else in the campaign structure must be incorporated into the government, some at very senior levels and others at mid levels or whatever their competence allowed them to function at. And it was a constant reminder, especially myself and some others, that this is not the way political parties as a creature behave. You must incorporate your larger campaign structure and transition that structure into government. So if somebody is not performing in the campaign, you don't wait until you win government and then ostracize the person. At any point during the campaign, you let the person know of their shortcomings and then have them take a back seat so they know that they're no longer part of this transition into government. But you don't just go into government and then apart from those who are named ministers, everybody else were not considered part of the team or part of the larger team. For example, most of the AFC comrades who found jobs in the last coalition government were people who had to literally go, and I'm saying this without fear of contradiction. They had to go to the PNC, that is.
Oh.
Not even to the AFC leaders.
Yeah, I know.
Some people turn,
I know
change their phone number. And these people had to go to the PNC, the APNU, to be incorporated into the government. The leadership of the AFC did not care. And I am saying this. I notice you get a bottle of water on the table, but I don't have any in my mouth. And I'm saying this without the fear of contradiction.
Put some water in my mouth.
So, and that kind of behavior, not even the Pope. When the Pope takes office, because the Vatican is considered a country by itself, when the Pope takes office, he names his 4 major cardinals. The Pope does that, and he chooses those people from among the people who were supporting him during his ascension to office. So I am saying that the Vatican is more political than the AFC. Now, there is something that I often refer to as political dividend. And political dividend needs to be paid to political activists at a higher premium.
They call legitimate expectation.
Exactly, which is right. And people need to be paid at a higher premium than a typical public servant because shelf life as a politician is short. All right?
Public servants go until
Public
60.
servants go, but
60.
politicians...
Next 5 years, you're up.
Exactly. And it therefore means then that you have to pay these people at a premium higher than a typical public servant. And so this is as to use your term, a legitimate expectation. But here is where the political dividend comes in. Now, one of the reasons why Bara Jagdeo is so successful in politics is because after his ascension to public life, he was able to compartmentalize. In other words, he did not have other trappings. For example, Nigel Hughes now is the leader of the AFC, but he is also an attorney. He got to study many law books and all those kinds of things to build a case to go before a judge. He got to think about the particular personality of every judge before he goes with his case. He got to supervise junior attorneys. He is a member of a law firm with other participating partners and all of that. And with all of that interest, he then has to go and be a party leader. You look back with Kemraj Ramjatan, Raphael Trotman, and all those leaders of the AFC. They followed similarly a similar path. But Bara Jagdeo did not have that as a humbug. He could have dedicated 100% literally, eat, sleep, and breathe politics day in, day out. So that comparison will then explain what I mean by the political dividend. Now, if you are sent to office after another party being in power for 23 years, you have to use the legal means of the state to position people, especially those who will be the next set of leaders. You have to position them so that they have an income to a level where they do not have to worry during the time you're in government at least, and for some period thereafter, that they shouldn't have to worry about having an independent stream of income.
The BFC just abandoned these people.
Exactly. So if now they had an independent stream of income, literally enabled by the party, it therefore means then if the party calls you and say, here, look, I would like you to go to Letem and get this done. The situation that AFC would find itself in right now is below the leader and probably the vice leader.
You were in the room when they called this woman. You know who's the woman, right? But you don't want to say that because she could sue and say it was me, but she wouldn't sue Nigel. She wouldn't sue Fela Kati because they called. So Trevor Williams said he don't want to call the name. Junjuba says he doesn't want to call her. People been asking me about her name, but I don't call her name.
No, I'm not. So that's what I'm about to say.
I think she's going to sue.
What I'm about to say, it was an AFC decision. The AFC Management Committee made the decision, and it is for them to discuss.
The AFC leadership. Right?
Yes, and it is for them to discuss how they come up to the decision and what it meant and so on. So I don't think it is for me to discuss that.
But there's a threat of libel. She said, you saying the AFC called me? that's a besmirching my character. But she would not, and who's going to come to her rescue? People have been asking me the past 9 years, who is this lady? I hope Nigel Hughes solves this once and for all. He was in the room there. Apparently.
Yeah, well, I think Nigel could adequately represent the AFC and
I don't think she will sue him.
And discuss that with the public. No,
you weren't in the room
at that particular moment. No.
Okay, but I know Trevor Williams was there.
Right.
Michael Carrington was in the room.
And a couple of other people.
And Virginia Bessessa was in the room.
Right. So to continue the point I was about to make is that if the AFC calls one of its senior activists, maybe not the leader and chairman and so on, senior activists, and say, just take a quick trip to Letem and organize such and such, the next question that will come, who paying my passage? You understand? Because AFC, apart from its senior leaders, do not have people with independent streams of income. Whether they're earning the income from some source in the government, some other private source, whatever. So if you run a party and you show no concern for people's income and well-being, that will come back to bite you.
But that era has gone. Why Raphael Chotman, Kevin Majumjitan, Cathy Hughes? I mean, Dominique Gaskin said that he was gone for me. Well, Hughes is new. Hughes wasn't part of the government. What is David Patterson, Cathy Hughes, Raphael Chotman, even my own friend Michael Carrington, what are they hoping to achieve? The thing has been so bad. It was such a blow to the psyche of Guyana. What are they hoping? I mean, I can understand Nigel Hughes saying, I am Nigel Hughes. I wasn't part of this thing. I think I could attract people. What are the rest of them hoping?
I do not think that the AFC leadership thinks that their performance in government was bad.
So they see nothing wrong with what they did. They didn't do anything wrong.
That is the impression I got. I gather.
What the psychologists would call that. It's like a guy saying in a cricket team, I am better than Lara. I am better than Talanka. He has a psychological problem.
I wouldn't want to hazard a guess to diagnose that. But I think that realization has not dawned on them. There are patches of good performances, yes, as would happen with any government.
Yeah,
if you review Trump's government, in between all of that melee that occurred,
the economy improved under him,
right? And under the APNU AFC, the AFC ministers had some good patches of good performances. But where they fell down the most, which affected the party in 2020, is the people who held their hands and walked with them to the tape. When they braced that tape with their chest and got the victory and passed.
When they did a Usain Bolt. Right.
Yeah, all the folks were then abandoned. Look, the AFC leaders were so, I would want to use the term terrible in the way they, interacted with people after they won the election, that for many months, which is something you should know, they did not turn up even for the regular political meetings. They used to have meetings every Monday, I think. And they didn't even come to the office from political meetings for fear of having to face people, for having to hear people ask, what about me? They did not for many months. So, and when the AFC won government, I was naive, personally naive at the time, because I thought that after you win government and after you name your ministers, the ministers take office. Yeah, let's say they took a month to learn their ministry, to get information from, the public servants as to what's happening in this ministry and start wrapping your head around what's happening in the ministry. Let's say it took a month. After that, it's not supposed to take that long anyway, but after that, I thought that the AFC leadership would then come, sit at the table and say, here, look, this is what's happening in the government from a political perspective. This is what's happening in the government, and these things have these particular political implications, and we have,
these long, in the years before you got power, and when you're in power, you have kept those exchanges, those emails?
All of them.
So if you publish those things, it could be quite explosive.
Yeah, but
you're not going to write a book on
maybe sometime later. If it's just this morning, my wife was saying to me, this morning, last night, my wife was saying to me, I should start write, because we were discussing some of these things. And she was saying, you need to write about these things because people need to know.
But you can't get sued for libel because John said to you, the man is doing bad in Port Morant. We're going to replace him. You have that.
Yeah. So I am not afraid of libel. It's just, I believe that at this point, I don't need to discuss AFC's specific AFC internal matter because the party should retain some amount of if not copyright is not the word, should retain some amount of ownership of what took place inside of the thing. So how
do you square that with your obligation? You write well, you're a columnist with the Chronicle, you work with the state. What about your obligation? People, I can tell you, and you have to be facing it now that you're a columnist with the Chronicle and you're co-host of perhaps the most popular talk show program. People must be meeting you and saying, well, man, Leonard, why did they do this? You sure what you're saying is true? Don't you have an obligation to history?
Yeah.
Carrington said you got all the emails and the...
Some of these things are time determined and time sensitive. And to say some things while people are still active in politics and so on I don't support it as the best thing to do at the time, because what occur in the deep recesses of the AFC, it should be proprietary for a period of time.
A period of 4 years of well, it can't be 4. It's got to be more than 4 years.
More than
because
right.
They got power in 2015. Good. So that's 9, 8, 7 years ago.
So, well, at this point, let me say this. At this point, I am willing to discuss more nuanced things that were observable rather than proprietary discussions inside of a meeting. I don't think...
So you're prepared to discuss roads not taking wrong directions? No.
Yes.
Why won't you offer the Minister of Environment? You had a master some the boarding school, and like you were high profile more than this lady.
All right,
why did they call
now
you?
that you asked the question, it's the first time I'm getting the question and the first time I'm going to reveal this, something AFC insiders know, but most people out there.
Come on then, I'll record
not.
history.
After the offer was made to the lady and she turned it down, the offer was made to me. And I was scheduled to be sworn in as
that minister.
That minister. However, you read Trotman's book. Mm-hmm. And Trotman's book said that he wasn't offered a ministerial position.
Which Dominic Gaskin and David Patterson dispute, right? And that chair that you said.
Right? So he said he wasn't offered. As far as my recollection go, he was not. Up to that point. And up to the day before, I was scheduled to be sworn in together with Kemraj Ramjatan, Dominic Gaskin, and some others on that day. In fact, I went to the office of the president to be sworn in. And to my surprise, Raphael Trotman's name was called as Minister of National Patrimony or something like that, I think, which would include the environment and all of that. So
was they called to be sworn in?
Yes. Right. And at least up to that point, it was, I would want to think it was a surprise to many, even of AFC leaders. And because this patrimony thing included our resources, and at the time, I think it was considered to the environment will be part of it, at least at that moment. And so the APNU, or which I think is the president, requested that my appointment
be rescinded?
Well, not be rescinded, but be put on hold. But
you couldn't, what you're saying, you couldn't have that portfolio anymore because it was subsumed under Trotman's portfolio.
Right. So if I were to be appointed, then it would have to be something else with some other shape or some other name or some other set of responsibility.
You never spoke about this publicly.
No. This is the first time I'm speaking about it publicly. I was at the office of the president to be sworn in as the Minister of Environment.
You're holding the thing and what he's doing is hold the...
No, that is what I'm saying to you.
And President Granger sits down and
right,
he
that's
reads
what I'm
the
saying.
thing to you, right?
That's what I'm saying.
So you were near to that stage.
Yeah, I was sitting there. There are videos.
Almost a minister.
There are videos in the news with me sitting.
Waiting to hold the book and
right there, yeah.
I, Leonard Craig, hereby...
without fear and favor and ill will and all the thing. Right. But thereafter, the exchanges that occur between the parties and what have you, there were people inside the APNU who were saying that AFC got enough, one more they want, blah, 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 blah. And so the negotiations broke down, and that basically...
Could you say who initiated the call to the woman? Who was the woman more closer to? Nigel, Raphael, Cathy, Dominique, or they were all a clique?
I do not know of the relationship specifically. I have my suspicions as to who the woman was closest to, but I do not know for sure. However, I know that everybody in the room, in the senior leadership, knew of her, and were not opposed to her being incorporated.
So let's hope Nigel Hughes Let's use Nigel Hughes answer this. He's saying Randy Prasad asked him 10 questions and he answered. I'm a friend of his. I hope he could answer my question. You want to move on, or there's something else about the AFC? We could talk hours and hours and hours about the AFC and how it's wrong.
I know.
It's an evil body.
But I like.
But you continue.
I won't use that word, but you that is your.
Yeah. I stand by that. I think expression of evil.
I use that word sparingly, but I understand where you're coming from. The one thing I would say though before we move on is that I am not sure that the AFC has learned its lesson. And these things that I'm talking about, not necessarily referring to me, because I often told them that whether I'm employed by the state or not, I would be okay, because I have marketable skills, knowledge, and education. But I was vehement and bombarding in my approach to the leadership of the AFC with respect to the other people who were just what I would refer to just left by the wayside.
Well, I think I'm not the best analyst. I think I'm fairly competent, and plus my age, I've been around a long time. And I think this thing evil that I use, I say that because I think what they did was personal things to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I remember I was unfavorably terminated at UG. And there was 2 weeks of protests at the campus with Kemaj Ramjatan leading it, Dominique Gaskin. And Michael Carrington brought to the table of the management committee, you don't think this government should compensate Freddie Kissoon? Mm-hmm. And those people just moved on to another item. Mm-hmm. You know what? When he was minister, we all have a friend, the office next door to AFC, Raymond, who works with Jerry Gavaya. And I was there with Raymond, and David Paulson, Minister Paulson, came across and said to me, "You writing all the time criticizing the government. You don't write and criticize Kwame McCoy. You don't write and criticize those people who do things to you." And I said, if they did things to me, what are you doing about it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What are you doing about it? Mm-hmm. You're the state now. People hurt me. What are you doing about it? How could you ask me why I'm not writing about those people who throw things in my face? What are you doing about those people who throw things in my face? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And none of them ever came at the trial. And the trial had a very incompetent prosecutor. The lawyers just make mincemeat of him. Mm-hmm. They didn't even take a special prosecutor. Mm-hmm. You know, those things, you know, I came to see you as the aide of Ramjatan, and Ramjatan passed and saw me, said, "You getting through?" And then just walk up the stairs.
And I believe that essentially
those people are evil, man.
Is one of the main reasons for the loss of support. You used to be at the campaign office in 2015, and you saw people walk from all walks of life and came in there and just volunteered their services. People brought their vehicle and say, "Look, I got 2 vehicles. You keep this one when the campaign done, then bring it back." People came and they said, "Look, what you got for me? I can sit down here, do this work. I can walk. I can go out and tell people, come and vote." And in 2020, you were in government and your campaign office was a ghost town.
I don't know why you want to use the word sparingly, but I suffered a lot as an activist in Guyana. And just to have people, look, Kemaj Ramjatan led the demonstration when UG terminated me. I led the demonstration for Freddie Kissoon to be reinstated. And you know what that man told Norman Brown, PNC activist in the UK? You know why Kissoon write those things when we were in office against us? He wanted me, right, to see that he go back to UG to teach. Norman Brown told me this, and I said to Norman, if I say this, suppose Ramjatan sue me. He said, Ramjatan said that to me. That man led the demonstration at UG with his suit.
I was there a couple of times. Yeah.
And that man said, I am annoyed because...
Ramjatan was in the front actually. Himself, Gerard Ramsuru.
Those people would pass me. Look, I mean, just look at the things. My family was also brought into to suffer. And those people would see me say, hi. When I'm at Raymond, they come out to their cars. I Freddie.
You're right. This brings me to another thing again, just before we move off. There was something that I was advocating for seriously in the AFC. And myself and Imran Khan.
God rest the dead.
Well, people like to say that. All right. We were advocating strongly for a desk, by whatever name, to call it reparative justice. Anybody who believed they were wronged by the previous, because remember, the parties got into power by saying the PPP was so bad, the PPP did this to that person, that to that person. Then now that you're in office, you have to repair the injustices performed by the PPP, because that is what you got into power saying, you know. That the PPP did this, they did that, they injustices to this person, that person, who genitals get burned, this, that, and that. And now you're blaming this government, and you are listing all these things that the government did badly before you got into power. And when you got into power, you're silent on those issues. And myself and Imran Khan was saying, no, establish a department, at the very least establish a desk, and staff the desk with somebody who got investigative capacity, and let the people who believe they were wronged by the PPP prior to 2015 come in, bring your issues, and let us see how the coalition government could repair whatever wrong was done to you. And the government, at least the AFC side of the government, was unwilling to listen or to even take that up as an issue.
I'm telling you, Leonard, before we move on, the things that were done to me, and maybe that psychologically drives me to use the word evil. I mean, the guy who confessed to throwing the thing in me, right, and was the main witness, was mysteriously killed on the railway embankment. Right. And there was no forensic investigation, no expert were called in to see if
saying that happened under the APNUAFC.
Yeah, the man just was killed, and the man was the main witness of throwing that thing in me. Somebody who was a leading human rights activist in the country, leading academic, and that man got killed in mysterious circumstances. Nobody even called me. There was no investigation. I'm telling you, let's move on. Nigel Hughes has to answer what he thinks he is doing with those people in AFC, what he's doing with the David Patterson, with the Cathy Hughes, with the Raphael Chotman, with the Kemba Jamjatan. But our viewers are looking for, we're going to be doing this quite often because I said it's a new format. You want to raise anything as time going on?
All right. There is a buzz around the country around the social media influencers and the performance of the opposition. where it seems
they're now replacing the opposition.
In my opinion, they are. Because the opposition literally have left the work for someone else to do, because they clearly are not doing it. And so you have leading, I'm not sure if influence is the right term, but I think that's the term.
They call them, social media influencers. Those are people who go on Facebook and...
Right. And so the opposition is literally being driven from outside of Guyana, because those influencers exist outside of Guyana. There was one time when Mark Benchcock was probably the leading social media influencer, but these days Mark has faded into in comparison with
Burke and
Melly Mel, for example. Those two might be the two leading persons. I don't wish to comment too much on the work of the influencers. I believe people and influencers have a role in every country. And they have a role from wherever they may sit. It's just, how do we account for that thin line between carrying out a mission that is for the public good or in the public's interest, and a mission of personal vendetta or whatever it is, right? That there's a thin line between what constitutes something on one side and what constitutes something on the other side. For me, though, generally I believe that people who are paid out of the public purse, like ministers, parliamentarians, not the typical public servant, I think they must be protected. But the other people who run for office and then, as a result of that, are being paid from the public purse, should absorb more robust criticisms and false names and things like that. That ordinary citizens and public servants should be
Of course, I don't think Cathy Hughes should have sued for being called a low. I just blase.
Exactly.
But
right.
You and I can be doing this because I think the show offers an opportunity of two academics to give their analyses and the evaluation of things happening in Guyana, which I believe people out there want to hear what Leonard Craig has to say about ABCD, what Freddie Kissoon has to say. I have known you, I've taught you at UJ, I've known you a long time. You're not loud-mouthed, big-mouthed, forceful, confrontational like me. But I know where you stand ideologically, right? I know you with the working class, and I know you're dark skin, you come from the working class, so you know how those mulatto Creole people behave. You have not commented on your friend, your personal friend, he's still your personal friend, Trevor Williams, when he called, he is in charge of Durban Park and in charge of the athletic center in Lenovo. Minister of Health Volans called him and said, could you use your equipment to, do up this play field where she lives for the guys in the community. Trevor Williams did it, leveled the playing field, and now wanted to call Volta to say it's done. And he's there with Cathy and say, Cathy, what's the number for Volta Lawrence? And she told a foundation member, a former member of parliament, the man in charge of the athletic center and in charge of Durban Park, I can't give you a minister's number. I am contending this and the working class origins of Williams I said it in my column about her. Had to do with it. Sure.
I don't have much
I know
comment
you,
on that.
No, but you should.
No. But I have also written that the AFC leadership as a collective, I do not want to identify a specific individual. But
the man came here in that same seat and said she did that to him.
Yeah, but that is his own experience with her, so he can speak about it. But as I'm saying that I can comment on the AFC leadership in general.
In a holistic way.
Yeah, they did display that kind of trait that says, and I think that was responsible also for what I described earlier, when the AFC won election, that they literally moved ahead and abandoned all the persons who... almost all.
Let me cut you, get back to your social media thing. Yeah, I've heard, I have heard from good sources that inside the Starbucks News, people have said, look, this opposition ain't doing nothing, we got to do it. And so you have a relentless outpouring in the Starbucks News against the government. And I think the two private newspapers, Starbucks and Kaicho, and the social media people are doing this thing because you don't have an active opposition.
Right. The media, as you will know, the media does have a place or do have a place in bringing government to account. And if you have a country, and if you have a country, well, I should say people who are paid by the public purse, the media have that right to bring them to account. And I think that is natural, that if the opposition is weak, the media houses will step in. And because, media people also have biases, even though their professional conduct sometimes have to lead them to try to be balanced. The person also have biases, and they can see, and then they take on that role. And that has been happening for years in Guyana. You would know about the Catholic Standard and
Argosy and in the 60s. Yeah.
Right.
Chronicle, Argosy, and
I think there was
Evening News too. Those three were very, very violently anti-Jagan.
And it happens that way over time. However, this opposition, and I've said this before, is the weakest opposition this country has ever seen since its founding, even before independence. This is the weakest stretch of opposition. Prior to this, I thought that the stewardship of Corbyn was weak. Yeah, was weak,
and he lost 5 seats to him.
Yeah, this here supersedes that by far. And when you have an opposition leader that cannot marshal his own forces, I mean, the opposition's position is so desperate that the leader should behave desperate with his own people, I'm talking about, by going to, there are some leading voices, there are some voices in the opposition that can make sense to a lot of voters, but the leader of the opposition got to call a truce, got to call them in and say, here, I don't know what went before, but what do I have to do as the leader to end this, to bring unity, to, whatever. And if the leader of the opposition is not strong enough to do that, then people probably have no real desire and real reason to follow such a leader. And I think that because of that, at the ballot box next year, the opposition will lose tremendous support. And some of the support they will lose does not have to result in crossover votes to the PPP necessarily, but people may become disenchanted, people may stay home, and all those kinds of things, which will result in the opposition losing tremendously.
Well, there's a lot of things to be discussed here, so I just remind viewers, we have a new format now, but at the end of the program, I will repeat what is going on here. I want to raise something that time would not permit. I heard that Nigel said that AFC may not participate in the elections because the chairman is too biased. I wonder if they've been checking out, they've done a secret poll, or they've been checking out things, and it looks like if they're going to have an ignominious showing. But there's an AFC statement at the last press conference that says they are thinking of boycotting the elections because of the chairmanship's bias. Her role is not...
That would be giving up their responsibility as an opposition, just as they did in the 2023 local government election. And that would be literally a gift to the PPP. And you don't do that as a responsible opposition. You fight with whatever ammunition you have, regardless. Even if your showing is not good at the election, you have to fight with the ammunition you have. And to just to lay down your tools and walk away it has to be a cop-out, because the chairperson's bias does not bring or
but she cannot determine the election results.
Exactly. That's the point I was about to make. It does not bring or deter people from putting an X next to AFC.
Yeah, when the statement of polls are pasted up there, how the chairmanship could change that? I mean, I don't understand. I think it's quite possible the AFC may have done a poll and it's not showing that.
I don't think that's a serious comment. I did not hear the comment, but I don't think
that came out of the...
I don't think it's a serious comment, because what I saw in some one of the newspapers is that AFC met with GAP, and they're forming... that was advanced talks on forming an alliance.
They said that was before. Over the weekend, they issue a statement and say they consulting the opposition parties about their decision that they may not participate. So that consultation with GAP came before this announcement.
No, but it doesn't. So if that is the case, then Nigel Hughes's position as leader, of what effect then there's something you gotta wrap your mind around, but
we do that for our next program, because there are a couple of things we have to talk about in the next program. I don't know if you know this program tonight, Monday night, people would not know, but Saturday ANUG had its Congress and it didn't go well. So, all the mulatto Creole members of the executive of departed. They declined nomination. They're no longer in the executive. Kian Jabur, Mistress Jonas, Mr. Jonas, and all of them have gone. Not even in the committee. They've just declined nominations for any position. So those are some of the things we need to discuss.
So who's the leader now?
The leader is, time has caught up with us. The leader is an Amerindian doctor named Mark France.
Mark France.
Yeah, but let me wrap up by
Okay.
informing viewers that Leonard Craig and I will be having this kind of rapping sessions in which we will pick topics and give our interpretation in it, because we believe, after being so, as two co-hosts and people looking at us, and as two academics in our own right, people want to hear what we have to say. There's a lot that have to be discussed. Just look what happened with Anug. Guyana is never a boring society. Never, its politics is never boring. So this is the new format where two academics, the two co-hosts of the program, apart from our interviews, will be discussing, will be putting interpretations on sociological, political, and economic events. When we come next to continue with this format, I'd like to ask Leonard about his take about this loud music in cars now, in which this music is louder than dancehall music. Some of those things we're going to discuss. But this is our new format in our program, in which the two co-hosts will give their presentation. No interview or anything. So, until we meet again, on behalf of Leonard Craig, catch you later. Bye-bye.